Hello, Victoria Zates, Psychic Medium. So, happy spring. I'm so glad about that. I hate this winter. Welcome to the Fortress of Knowledge. It's a wonder I'm not buried in books right now. So, healthy and unhealthy relationship patterns. I'm doing this webinar on Wednesday, April 1st, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is a really important subject. Because most of us start out, and I'm wearing my psychological hat today, with unhealthy relationship patterns. And that stuff begins in childhood. And hopefully as we learn and grow, we start to have more healthy patterns. So in this webinar, we're going to start off talking about some of the unhealthy things that you can work through in order to have healthier relationships. And I'm talking about every possible kind of relationship, so it'll be beneficial. So from a psychological perspective, a lot of the stuff starts in childhood. It's important to really start clearing some of that stuff out. So some of the stuff we're going to talk about first, codependency, which is essentially, getting your sense of self-worth from helping other people or rescuing other people. There's this whole complex that goes on in there, the triangle of the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer. So we will talk about that. The rescue complex, which really keeps people from being in equal types of relationships, victimization and disempowerment, projection, a psychological term for basically if you can't deal with the internal pain and struggles that you're having, you'll basically try to project them onto people in your environment. Over idealization, which unfortunately really happens a lot in the romantic context. In general, we're kind of taught to have this very ideal thinking about relationships, which relationships are actually very hard work. Fun, but a lot of hard work too. The power and control dynamics that you can get into in relationships, verbal and emotional abuse, which no one should really ever tolerate. So we're going to talk about what that looks like. And then also energy vampires, which in this case would be people that you really want to avoid. And until they stop becoming energy vampires, if they ever do, there's really no, there's only a lesson for you in not having those people in your life, and there's nothing wrong with that. So we'll talk about what energy vampires are. They often manifest in certain personality disorders. So narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder. And if you have personal experience, as I do, in dealing with people with those disorders, it's very confusing. So we will definitely talk about that. And they're basically energy suckers. So we'll talk about how to heal from things, from your childhood and also from other relationships, things that you haven't really healed from an energetic and a spiritual perspective. Boundaries is another thing that's very important in relationships. It's a part of self-care. Knowing yourself well enough to determine what your boundaries need to be, upholding those boundaries, and that basically helps you with self-respect. Then we'll get into what is a healthy relationship exactly. So what are, moving through some of the more unhealthy things, what are some of the things that are actually healthy? So I'm not saying, that you should necessarily, just chuck a relationship. It really depends on all the factors involved in all of these things. And it's a personal growth process towards really becoming more healthy yourself. And that's a fantastic way of really looking at any of your relationships. So thank you very much, and thank you for listening, and I hope to see you at this. It's not really from an intuitive perspective, of more from my education and experience and understanding of psychology. So I look forward to it. Thanks, guys. Happy spring. Take care.